Welcome to another Walter Football video. I'm Charlie Campbell, Senior Draft Analyst. So let's get into this week's mock draft. 4 weeks into the NFL season when this mock was written. So we have what used to be a quarter of the season done. Now at the 17th game it's thrown off. So at least we have 4 games in. So I think the order is a little bit more reasonable to follow along now. So let's get into it. Speed it up to 1.25 or 1.5. I think that makes the mocks a lot better. You can click the link to follow along as well and read round 2 for the other picks not covered in the video. But definitely check out that and all the other stuff we have going up on the site. All right, let's get into this week's mock. First overall pick, Jacksonville Jaguars. I have them taking Kayvon Thibodeaux, defensive end from Oregon. Obviously, this isn't the biggest need on the roster, but Thibodeaux looks like the best player in this draft class. So he gives them an edge rusher to pair with Josh Allen. Chason was a pick of the previous regime. They've shown less loyalty to a higher pick and a better player in C.J. Henderson and shipping him out. So I don't think with the way Chason has played up to this point, that would cause them to pass on Thibodeaux and the best player in the draft. So definitely I could see the Jags just going with the guy that's going to make the biggest impact for them as a franchise. All right, second overall pick, I have the Lions taking Adam Anderson, edge rusher, outside linebacker from Georgia. This guy is a pure quarterback hunter. He is so fast off the edge, tougher in the run game than people give him credit for. He's really similar to Brian Burns coming out of Florida State, and Brian Burns has turned into one of the top young edge defenders in the NFL, has become more well-rounded in the NFL as he's grabbed strength or developed strength. I think the same thing will happen with Anderson, but he is a lightning bolt off the edge. Just natural quarterback hunter. He barely plays, yet he almost averages about a sack per game because Georgia does a rotation and uses him mainly in sub. And he's just still so productive in a limited amount of opportunities, and he has such an impact on the quarterback. He really affects the quarterback aside from the plays that he doesn't get a sack. So the Lions could use an edge rusher, real kind of lead dog, and he's a great fit in their 3-4 defense. All right, third overall, I have the Jets taking Kyle Hamilton, safety from Notre Dame. The Jets have a ton of picks. They have a bunch of high picks with 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders. So I think they can afford to go with the best sheer talent here. And then with some of these other picks, that late first-rounder, that early second-rounder, they can fill some other needs like edge rusher and cornerback. But right here, Hamilton's the best talent available. Marcus May could get traded or not re-signed. They could use an impact safety, and Hamilton is one of the best players in this draft class, hands down. He is a ball hawk. He is a do-it-all safety in terms of playing free safety, strong safety, can play man on tight ends, is just a lightning bolt firing up to the line of scrimmage from lining up 10, 15 yards deep. You see him make incredible tackles in the flat with his speed to close. So he is just a dynamic player. Would be a big-time upgrade in presence for the Jets defense. Fourth overall, I have the Eagles taking Derek Stingley, cornerback from LSU. Gives them a pure number 1 cornerback in their division. They're going to need multiple good corners. Gives them a really good player to pair with, Darius Slay. But when you think of the Cowboys and all their receivers, to get past them, you're going to need a good secondary, and Stingley would provide a big impact for the Eagles. Fifth overall, I have the Falcons taking Matt Corral, quarterback from Ole Miss. Definitely a really nice player in terms of how he's developed over the past year. Mobile, strong arm, accurate, dynamic with his feet. I think he would be a really good understudy for Matt Ryan for a year, and then, or potentially they trade Matt Ryan. But either way, they need a long-term answer, and getting Corral at 5th overall could be solid value for the Falcons in terms of getting the best quarterback prospect in the draft class. 6th overall, I have the Texans taking Aiden Hutchinson, edge rusher from Michigan. They need a real edge rusher, presence to replace J.J. Watt. Whitney Merciless is aging, not the same player he once was. So they definitely need an impact guy in the front seven there. And if there isn't a quarterback worth taking, then I think they got to look for just the best player available, except for maybe offensive line. But they need a lot of help on defense. 7th overall, I have the Patriots taking Jordan Davis, defensive tackle from Georgia. Big behemoth of a D tackle. He's quick and athletic, shockingly fast and athletic for a guy his size. And New England hasn't really had that interior presence and disruptor for quite some time. Would kind of get that Vince Wilfork player back into the Bill Belichick scheme, and I think that would really help their defense in a variety of ways. 8th overall, I have the Colts taking Trent McDuffie, cornerback from Washington. They could use more cornerback talent. McDuffie is a really nice cover corner, kind of do-it-all guy, also returns punts. They won't need to do that in the NFL, but it just shows his athleticism and speed that Washington uses him that way. So he would be a good upgrade for the Colts right away. 9th overall, I have the Eagles taking Jermaine Johnson, edge rusher from Florida State. Give them a nice player to kind of build around up front. They could use some more youth on the defensive line. We'll see if Derek Barnett's around next year, but Jermaine Johnson, even if he is, would form a nice tandem with Barnett in the long term if the Eagles decide that they want to keep Barnett. But at any rate, Jermaine Johnson playing really well this year, super productive, getting after the quarterback, making a lot of tackles in the ground game, plays really hard, built strong, has some quickness. He's a really nice player that's rising this season. 10th overall, I have the Giants taking Evan Neal, offensive tackle from Alabama. He plays left tackle for Alabama, but he's a better fit at right tackle in the NFL. Either way, he's going to be a really good pro, tough and strong in the ground game. He's so big and so massive, it's hard to get around him in the pass rush. Kind of helps to make up for him not having, say, the best feet. But for a guy as big as he is, like 6'7", 350, you don't expect him to move like an offensive tackle that's 6'4", 300 or 6'5", 300. So at any rate, he'd be a really nice combo with Andrew Thomas, give them a replacement for Nate Solder, and a guy to run behind with Saquon Barkley. 11th overall, I have the Vikings taking Tariq Castro-Fields, cornerback from Penn State. Really nice cover corner, has size, speed, athleticism. Scouts have compared him to Marlon Humphrey. And obviously Minnesota had a bunch of these cornerback picks not work out, like Jeff Gladney, Mike Hughes, picks like that. So they need more cornerback talent for the long term, and they have always prioritized that position. 12th overall, I have the Steelers taking Spencer Rattler, quarterback from Oklahoma. Obviously, Big Ben is nearing the end. They need a long-term quarterback. Rattler has had a rough start to this season, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if he lights it up in the second half of the year, going against a lot of weak Big 12 defenses and gets into a better groove offensively. So obviously the Steelers have to think of quarterback of the future, and Rattler could be a fit there in the top half of the first round. 13th overall, I have the Dolphins taking Brandon Smith, linebacker from Penn State. Big, fast, good run defender, shows the ability to drop into coverage, 3-down starter, could really help the middle of that Dolphins defense. 14th overall, I have the Jets taking George Karlaftis, defensive end from Purdue. Tough pass rusher, shows really good strength there to shed blocks, strong hands, really does a nice job of getting off blocks with a variety of moves and strength. The strength, it's kind of weird. It doesn't translate into the run game. He's not a tough butt kicker in the run game the way you think he would be, given how strong he is in terms of breaking off hands and getting off blocks in the pass rush. At any rate, he's got talent to work with. He gets after the quarterback, could be a nice tandem with Carl Lawson, and then over time, he develops into a better run defender. And really the same thing goes for Aiden Hutchinson. He's a good run defender in terms of getting, slants, using angles, using his speed and athleticism, but struggles when runs comes downhill straight at him. So some of these guys, it's surprising how strong they are in the pass rush, but needing to get stronger in the run game. So maybe we'll talk about that more in a separate video in weeks to come. All right, 15th overall, Saints have them taking Justin Ross, wide receiver from Clemson, big receiver, has some speed, can get downfield. Obviously, Michael Thomas' situation seems to be a saga that we don't know how it's going to end. Even if the Saints straighten things out with him and he comes back, they're going to need more receiver help around him. So Justin Ross would make sense for the Saints. 16th overall, I have the Giants taking Travon Walker, defensive end from Georgia. Gives them another edge rusher to go with Azeez Ojulari. Walker's a tough run defender as well, has a really good skill set, rising player. 17th overall, I have the Chiefs taking Trevor Penning, Northern Iowa offensive tackle. Gives them a guy to pair with Orlando Brown. They could also shuffle guys around, move people to the inside. Either way, it helps protect Pat Mahomes and open up holes in the ground game. 18th overall, I have the Browns taking Jahan Dotson, wide receiver from Penn State. Playmaking wide receiver, has speed to get downfield. This might be a little high for him, but the Browns definitely could use some long-term answers at receiver. I think with the contract situations of Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr., they're not going to keep both of them around. I think at least one will go, and if that's the case, they're going to need more receiving talent for Baker Mayfield. 19th overall, I have the Titans taking Drake Jackson, edge rusher from USC. They could use an edge rusher to go across from Bud Dupree. Tennessee's defense really needs to ramp up their pass defense. So I think they just go best player available in terms of an edge rusher or a cornerback. But they took a cornerback last year, so I could see edge rusher being the lean. Okay, next up we have the Washington at 20. I have them taking Abraham Lucas, right tackle from Washington State. Give them a tackle to pair with Sam Cosmi. There isn't a quarterback here worth taking, so I could see them going offensive line to help protect the quarterback and help them get some steadiness in the ground game. 21st overall, I have the Panthers taking Rasheed Walker, left tackle from Penn State. Give them a long-term left tackle to protect Sam Darnold. Obviously, Greg Little didn't work out. We'll see if Brady Christensen works out, but right now he isn't playing. So it's hard to bank on him being the long-term answer, and they could always kick him inside to guard and, strengthen the interior of the line that way. So Walker would give them a long-term left tackle. 22nd overall, I have the Packers taking Chris Olave, wide receiver from Ohio State. Really smooth receiver, good route runner, quickness to get downfield, can hurt defenses in all three levels, would be a really nice weapon for Jordan Love in the long term. 23rd overall, I have Cincinnati taking Nicholas Petit-Frere, left tackle from Ohio State. Give them some better protection for Joe Burrow. I think this is a really nice fit there for Cincinnati. Let them move Jonah Williams to inside or right tackle, and now you've upgraded your line at 2 spots. 24th overall, I have the Broncos taking Ali Gay, edge rusher from LSU. Really nice player that hasn't shown it quite yet because he's had some injuries, but he's flashed at times this season already, and the Broncos could use long-term edge rush. Von Miller may not be around that much longer, so Gay would give them an edge rusher to pair with Bradley Chubb. 25th overall, I have the Lions taking Treylon Burks, wide receiver from Arkansas. Obviously, the Lions need more receiving talent. Burks would give them kind of a big possessional receiver guy to move the chains, but he also has enough quickness to get downfield and make some plays there as well. So would be a really nice steady receiver to help improve that pass offense for Detroit. 26th overall, I have the Cowboys taking Perrion Winfrey, defensive tackle from Oklahoma. Gives them an interior pass rusher, guy that can disrupt from the inside. Oklahoma plays him kind of out of position a lot. They have him playing a lot of nose tackle and zero technique. But what they let him play 3 technique and let him rush, he really makes an impact, and you can see that in the sack totals. He's done a really nice job of that over this season and limited opportunities. So I think in the NFL, 3-down starter at 3 technique to get after the quarterback, he's going to be a really nice interior rusher. 27th overall, I have the Chargers taking Zachary Carter, defensive lineman from Florida. Really nice player, having a really good season for the Gators, getting after the quarterback. He can play end. You can move him inside to tackle in the sub package. I think that'd be a good fit for the Chargers to give them a base end across from Joey Bosa and rundowns, and then another interior rusher to go with Bosa and Tillery in the sub package. Make the Chargers defense even that much better. 28th overall, I have the Raiders taking DeMarvin Leal, defensive tackle from Texas A&M. They play him at end and tackle, but similar to Winfrey, kind of played out of position. Somebody's at his best as a 3 technique, getting upfield, causing disruption. The Raiders could use more interior talent, although Darius Philon has played well. Solomon Thomas has shown some in the sub package. We'll see how that plays out over the rest of the season. Maybe those guys solidify those spots and their long-term answers. But if they aren't, they're going to need some help there. That's why they signed Gerald McCoy, and he got injured and is out for the year. So we'll see how it plays out. But if the Raiders don't take a defensive tackle, if those guys fill that need, you could think of linebacker could be a position of need, maybe more defensive end talent, depending on how things go, if they want to add more talent to go with Crosby and Ngakoue, but strengthening the defense would make sense, or even guard could use some help on the offensive line there. 29th overall, the Bucs, I have them taking Devontae Price, running back from FIU. Definitely a guy that is really tough runner, big, has speed, dangerous guy that can break off long runs on any carry, but has the size to be an every down back. With the Bucs situation with Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones entering free agency, Gio Bernard's not a long-term answer as well. I think you could use solid presence in the backfield there, and Price would be a nice value at 29. 30th overall, I have the Ravens taking Daniel Falele, right tackle from Minnesota. Give them a replacement for Orlando Brown, a guy to protect Lamar Jackson and a player to run behind. 31st overall, I have the Bills taking Josh Jobe, cornerback from Alabama. Really good skill set. He's big, fast, athletic, just is a bit inconsistent, and I think the Bills could work with that, turn him into a really nice number 2 corner to go with Trey White. 32nd overall, I have the Cardinals taking Jalen Weidermeyer, tight end from Texas A&M. They could use a tight end upgrade, and I think that with the age of A.J. Green, having another big receiving target for the middle of the field would make a lot of sense for Arizona. But obviously, DeAndre Hopkins can't do it all by himself, but the coverage that he commands and the extra coverage, that would open things up for a tight end like Weidermeyer. I think that'd be a nice addition to the Cardinals offense. All right, let's get into the teams that don't have first-round picks, okay? Up first, we got Seattle. I have them taking Miles Jones, cornerback from Texas A&M. Obviously, Seattle has got to improve their cornerbacks. It's been a real weakness this year, and Miles Jones is a really big, long corner, the kind of guy that they've targeted over the years. I think he'd be a good fit there in Seattle's scheme. Next up, we have the Bears. I have them taking John Mechie, wide receiver from Alabama. Would be a really good player for number 2 receiver to go with Allen Robinson, or number 3 with, they got Mooney as well. So at any rate, bring in more weapons for Justin Fields. Next up, we got the 49ers. I have them taking Andrew Booth Jr., cornerback from Clemson. Really good skill set, big, fast, athletic. Has some limitations, and I kind of wonder about some of his knowledge of the scheme, given how Clemson lines him up. They always seem to have him, for the most part, along the Clemson sideline, so I don't know if he's getting kind of help pre-snap in that regard. But at any rate, he's a guy with a skill set that could rise over the course of the season. But the 49ers could use more long-term cornerback talent, and this is a good cornerback draft, so they should have some good options there for them in the second round. Same thing with the Rams, as we saw with DK Metcalf. They could use another corner to go with Jalen Ramsey, so I have them going with Roger McCreary, cornerback from Auburn. He's a really good corner in terms of running the route, preventing separation, has some size limitations, so he might end up being more of a slot guy, but I think he could be a corner that you could move around, line him up outside some, move him inside the slot, but he's got instincts, quick, athletic, ball skills, really nice player. He's just a little short. If he was an inch or two taller, he'd be a top 16 pick. But I think he can overcome that to be a really good pro and a solid number 2. And that's all the Rams need, because you have your number 1 with Jalen Ramsey. So getting a reliable number 2, number 3 corner would help that defense. So that's this week's mock. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Also, check out in the links below in the Hot Press. I talked with a few directors of college scouting, some national scouts, other sources about this quarterback class, their thoughts on Sam Howell being overrated, their thoughts on Malik Willis. Kenny Pickett, the quarterback from Pitt, is rising. We'll see kind of how far that rise can take him. But at any rate, it's interesting stuff, and they're talking about, this quarterback class doesn't have a guy worth trading the farm for, or lacks kind of that top guy that we've seen in other years. So at any rate, their comments I thought were really interesting, so check that out in the links below, along with the rest of round 2 of this mock and position rankings, all that good stuff. Walt's picks there, Walt's mock, everything's getting updated weekly. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I thank you so much for watching. I'll be back with you soon. Take care, be safe, love to all of you.